This is pretty hard to do, and I hate to approach it this way. I was thinking I could put together something special for the closing of the game, or just ad-lib something with the camera and keep it personal, but I've struggled to stay direct and on topic, so here we go. Here's my discussion about the very premature end to Prophecy, why I'm obviously heartbroken about its loss, the wonderful community I've met within the game, and what the future of Prophecy and this channel will be. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your support on these videos. I've spoken to many of you in the Discord, but I don't think I've iterated my thanks enough. I've really enjoyed this project. The videos such as the Trait Synergies Guide are some of my proudest to date. For those of you that don't know, this isn't my first rodeo on YouTube. I have another channel called The Noli, focused predominantly around Payday 2 and other related co-op games, so if you want to keep following me, head on over to that channel, link down below. If not, I 100% understand. It was always my intention to keep both ventures completely separate. I really mused over what to do with this channel, rename it, and use it as more of a general secondary channel, cover an auto battler, like Prophecy. Well, I've decided that Prophecy meta will be sticking around in some capacity, hopefully covering news regarding what the Prophecy devs intend to next, whenever we get that, if that happens to be a genuine promise. Now, onto Prophecy itself, as a brilliant game and a mismanaged business venture. To start things off, I'll briefly go through the events leading up to the server shutdown. On June 3rd, the game went into early access, a surprise to pretty much everyone, and something that went against the original August beta plan. This came in conjunction with the news of a set of $10,000 tournaments running all the way into December and kickstarting the competitive scene for Prophecy. An announcement which came somewhat unofficially direct from the mouth of CEO Erez Goran, but had all the promise which would pique the interest of other auto battler players and Smite fans alike. Great news, if it was to be believed. The truth was that this was a completely empty promise, and the premature release of the game was accompanied by a prolonged silence which would signal the beginning of the end. We saw one more small update on June 6th, designed for tournament balance and spectating functionality. Little did we know this would be the last. Susano would be left in an exceedingly powerful state, and issues like true damage going through immunity would never be fixed. Not just that, but the game had been evolving at a fairly rapid rate previously. We knew additional characters existed within the game files and had a few teasers suggesting that they would be coming soon. This kind of development cycle and excitement for content is necessary to maintain the player base's interest at the early access stage. When this was lost, the excitement died down and the community was left frustrated. To top this off, after the first internally ran 1K tourney, which was admittedly somewhat of a formatting mess, we were soon informed that officially sponsored tournaments would be halted. This was like a dagger to the heart for me. It was bad news from a commercial standpoint, obviously, losing the financial incentive and general excitement competitive play brings, but to me, it was an immediate sign that something wasn't quite right. This happened on the 16th of June and was followed by a Prophecy Games questionnaire, another thing strangely removed from the game itself, and more so focused on how the company had done, worrying for the observant amongst us. This began the painful weeks of developer silence, which bred community confusion and speculation. This stagnation, while in a somewhat imbalanced state, would see something of an exodus from the community. Not planning to leave the game for good, just take a break until another update was announced, which was absolutely fair enough. Sadly, this alongside the silence from the Prophecy devs that had previously been so community-facing, started to spread seeds of doubt and a general unrest that was clear from a quick daily glance at the Discord. Many of us continued to play, enjoying some brilliantly well-run tournaments funded by Pat Dark and Tyrannus, I believe, as well as the ones put on by the UPL boys. We did everything we could internally to breathe life back into the game that had seemingly gone dark, but when even community figureheads and developers such as Anatoly were seemingly foregoing Prophecy, we knew something wasn't right. On the 29th of June, almost 2 weeks after the original announcement, we got our answer. Prophecy was being shut down, not just maintained, but a full-on server switch-off within the week. Devastating news, but actually probably a bit of a release for many, myself included, after all those weeks of uncertainty. What was the reason given for closing down this game with a ton of well-documented promise? Player retention. Now, I ask you this, how can you go from an $80,000 promise to, no, we're shutting things down completely in just under a month? It's unfeasible to believe that this total change of heart came from limited player retention figures as we were told. Now, it's not unfeasible to believe that Erez is an incredibly impulsive and sometimes irresponsible business mind, but it's a stretch to assume that all of this came from one particularly rushed decision. I don't want to harp on about player retention, but what's a ridiculous metric to use on a game with such a small base population due to zero marketing, as well as no progression systems, official leaderboards, or matchmaking to actually retain player interest at all levels. I also don't want to get into any conspiracy theories in this video. They serve no purpose and go nowhere beyond wild speculation and making yourself sad. But what I will say is that there is no way the player retention metric Prophecy Games is meant to be using is the only reason for the shutdown we've seen. No way at all. And if it is, I'm thoroughly perplexed by the higher-ups at the studio. Almost all reviews are brilliant, which is just another reason why I'm heartbroken. Just giving a quick read through the Steam page is painful. New players having a great time, blissfully unaware that the game is soon shutting down because the company's communication has been just that appalling, even in the shutdown announcement. Furthermore, people didn't even know the game was in an accessible state, still waiting on alpha keys. It was never really advertised publicly or marketed by prevalent community figures from within the Smite and Auto Battler community that this took place. It's all so perplexing. Now, I am going to speculate slightly here. I think we should be slightly heartened that the game never added the planned microtransactions like other high-res flops of old, such as Hand of the Gods. When there is a sunk cost, it's rare that a free-to-play studio will withdraw all investment without trying to recoup some of that cost, which is why I believe the tactic Prophecy Games has chosen to follow is at least better than the smash-and-grab mindset of a hurried Founders Pack release. I also think that it may indicate the potential of a return in some capacity, not alienating its core audience with an irresponsible raid on our bank accounts. Although this possibility was only really mentioned within the Discord itself, and all outward-facing statements have been far less optimistic, meaning I suspect there's a little bit of subduing the most dedicated and therefore volatile subset of the community taking place here, telling us basically what we want to hear. And to me, it's such a goddamn shame, because Prophecy was just so good. I'm not really an Auto Battler fanatic, and Prophecy is actually my first game in the genre, but everything about it clicked for me. I had some amazing times during Prophecy's run, chatting with like-minded players pre-match in the Discord, making friends with people whose abilities in the game I really respected and had been seeing daily in my matches, and even sneaking a win during the community-ran practice tourney for the 1K, which has to be my proudest moment in Prophecy. The game was brilliant, everything was so intuitive, it looked great. For fans of Smite, it had all we could possibly ask for. The balance was honestly quite solid for a game in early development, and metas evolved rapidly because the community was so dedicated. I loved the trait system, rotating pools, ability design, and leader systems. Plus, outside of a few bugs, which would have been ironed out over time, it was really well conveyed on the board with satisfying animations. We were even promised balancers to make things less luck reliant, which disappeared with the update cycle and adds to the Erez pile of broken promises. Even in this gameplay, a Final Thanatos game I managed to find late a couple of nights ago, I had a blast. Discovered new things and ended up trying out some things I hadn't used much before, showing the incredible depth and potential the game had, even after 290 hours, which I have on record on Steam. On top of all of this, I was really enjoying the video making process and had never felt as much pride in my achievements as I did here. I actually had Prophecy to thank for rekindling my love for video making. Videos like the beginner's guide and the trait system discussion took upwards of 14 hours to put together. I'm not moaning because of this loss of my sunk time, as I say I enjoyed it and would happily do it again, even with perfect hindsight. What I want to emphasize is just how much of a shame it is that a game so good that ignited this kind of drive and passion could disappear so unceremoniously and without really being given a fighting chance. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. If you want to stay in touch, head over to my Twitter, twitter.com/thenoli, or just message me on Discord, as I plan to stay in the official server to the last man, desperate for some good news to come eventually. Which it just might, and until then, I'll be watching. Remember, you can subscribe to the Noli channel if you just enjoy my voice and don't mind the topic. I'll be doing my best to stay busy over there and distract myself from the void of Prophecy. So, this is my last video for now, but I can't wait to return. See you all soon, if the gods allow.